Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Dr. Dustin Portela, board certified dermatologist, and summer might be coming to an end, but that doesn't mean we can't relive some of the summer's best moments, or worst, depending on how you look at it. I'm going to be reviewing 6 of the worst sunburns that I saw on TikTok. So we're going to check out some of the horrible TikTok sunburns, and I'm going to react to them and tell you guys what I think. We're also going to cover a little bit about how to take care of a sunburn if you get a bad one. So let's jump into it. Alright, so everybody's had a sunburn at some point in their life, some mild, some severe. Here's a couple of the sunburns that I remember distinctly in my life. There's a couple really bad ones. The first, I was probably like 20, 21 years old, probably 20 years old, and I was playing tennis with a friend, and we were out there for about 3 hours, and we thought it would be a good idea to take our shirts off, and we played in the intense sunlight in the middle of summer for about 3 hours. And I got such an incredible bad burn on my back. My friend did as well. I mean, we had to get aloe, and there was blisters, and I didn't even want to put a shirt on after that, but it was horrible. Never made that mistake again. Did not want to relive it. And some of you may have been there before. The second sunburn, I was a kid. I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, so this would have been back in the late 80s, early 90s, and at that time, one of the styles of haircuts that was going around was to buzz racing stripes into the side of your head. And I wanted that so bad, I convinced my mom to do it. And it was summertime, I was at a family reunion, and although we put sunscreen on, we didn't think about that little area, and I got a sunburn down all 3 racing stripes on both sides of my head, and it hurt so bad. I don't know if I've had a sunburn that hurt as bad as that one, even though it was such a small area. So even a dermatologist has made sunburn mistakes, and you probably have as well. But why do we care about sunburns? Well, we know that a sunburn can increase your risk of skin cancer, particularly melanoma. So severe sunburns do dramatically increase your risk of melanoma, but it's far from a guarantee that that will happen. So it's not like I want you to lose sleep over that, but just know that it's important to protect your skin so you decrease your risk of developing melanoma over the course of your lifetime. Additionally, intense sun exposure is going to make you look old faster than you should. Everybody has seen those individuals who are in their 50s and look like they're in their 70s because they just never took care of their skin. Other things like smoking may accelerate the appearance of aging, but if you want to stay looking youthful for much longer and age gracefully, sunscreen is where it's at. Now that we've covered a little bit about my sunscreen mistakes and we've talked about the importance of sunscreen and preventing sunburn, let's take a look at the first video and I'll give you my thoughts. Alright, we're putting on stars and stripes on the back. That's what it looks like here. And he's going to lay out and get a tan. Here we go. Alright, so obviously this is not a real severe sunburn, but remember, we're starting at the mild end and we're working up to the more severe ones. There's a lot of people that have done this kind of stuff. Stars and stripes, the Playboy bunny, some type of recession, put on the skin, then you go get a tan and it leaves a tan without that area and you get a design on your skin like a temporary tattoo. This is not the most harmful thing you can do compared to what we're going to see, but it's still not a good idea because you're exposing yourself to unnecessary ultraviolet exposure, which again, like we talked about, will increase your risk of skin cancer and premature aging of the skin. So again, that was a little bit more mild. The next one is a 2-part video. So they did a before and an after, and we're going to take a look at it. This one I have some questions about. Let's take a look.
Dad, your head doesn't burn. It's like sticking out the car.
Ooh.
Well, don't they call this quemacocos in Spanish?
He's got his head, open sunroof,
I guess.
and here we go after the road trip. Oh, look at the top of his head, bright red. Yikes. Okay. So just because you may have darker skin doesn't mean you can avoid using sunscreen. So he had a 3-hour road trip according to that video and didn't put on any sunscreen and for some reason decided to leave the sunroof open. It's a recipe for disaster regardless of your skin type. This is a severe sunburn, but I have a couple questions about this. I'm a little bit curious if this video could be a setup, if it's a fake. I don't know for sure, but again, they recorded beforehand. We got the after. His head is bright red, and there's a sharp line of demarcation, but I don't see that his ears are red. The tops of his ears should be sunburned, just like the top of his head. And I don't really see that. They just focused on the head. So this could be a little bit of makeup or something else they put on the head to make it appear like he had a really bad sunburn. But the reality is this can happen. If you leave that sunroof open, then you can get a burn on the top of your head. It would get the tops of your ears as well. If it's coming in, it may get the tops of your arms or the backs of your hands. So you got to be careful when you're driving. Ultraviolet A light still comes through the window glass too. So even if you have the windows closed, sunscreen can still be an important part of protecting yourself while you're driving because UVA can help contribute to premature aging of the skin. So it's important to protect yourself. Now, if you leave the sunroof closed, but the sunscreen is open, like the opaque part, then you're going to be getting sun down on the top of your head. You can still get a burn through the window. Now, UVB is more likely to cause a burn. It goes a little bit more superficial in the skin, but you stay in UVA long enough, you're going to get a burn as well. So again, looking back on that video, definitely a bad idea. He could have a real burn, and that would be a very bad one, even though he has a little bit darker skin type. I still have some questions about it. Now let's take a look at part 2 of that same video and see what he does to try to fix that sunburn. All right, little recap. All right, now he's grabbing sunscreen.
This thing's gonna hurt.
Why is he putting on sunscreen now? He's already burned. What is that going to do? Oh yeah! No, that's going to sting so bad. Okay, so if you have a sunburn and then you try to put on sunscreen, it's a little bit too late. If you have a bad sunburn, the things that you want to do are put on things like aloe, because it's very lightweight and it helps to transmit that heat, evaporative cooling out of the skin. Your skin's so hot and there's so much inflammation. That's why it appears red, because you have increased blood flow. There's extra white blood cells being deposited in the skin because you literally have killed some of your skin cells, the keratinocytes. They're literally dying, and you have things like macrophages and other types of white blood cells that are going to come in and clean up those dead cells. So with all that inflammation, that's why you get swelling, you get blisters, and you need to put something on that's going to actually cool the skin. Sunscreen is great before you have a sunburn, but those chemicals that are in there are going to sting. They're going to hurt when you put them on compromised skin. This video also gives us a little bit better look at the tops of his ears, which are not red at all. We still have a sharp line around his head. It could be a real sunburn, but I still have my doubts. Next, we're moving into the territory of what I think are the more severe sunburns that you're going to see. This next one is short, but it's really bad. Oh. Look at that sharp line where her bra strap was. That is a bad sunburn. She probably fell asleep while she was out there sunbathing and her friends didn't come and wake her up. She obviously wasn't wearing any sunscreen. Not a good idea here. That is a bad sunburn, and she's probably going to progress on to blistering. And this covers a large body surface area. So it's all over her back, upper and lower, and down her legs. There's enough inflammation there. She might actually need to go to a doctor, because that severe of inflammation and the number of blisters that she's going to get, she might need some help to manage the wounds that could come from that. Now, dermatologists are not fans of sunbathing under any circumstances, but we realize that some of you are going to do it anyway. So if you're going to do it, try not to do it in the most intense hours of the day. That's like between 10 a.m. and 2 to 4 p.m. somewhere, because that's when the sun's rays are most intense. If you want to get a little sunlight, I'm not advocating it, but do it earlier in the morning or later in the evening when the sun's rays are not so intense and you're not going to get burned like that. Also, avoid artificial tanning beds. So those things are not good for your skin either. In either circumstance, people have reported falling asleep either out under the sun or in a tanning bed and getting a severe burn. So if you're in a tanning bed, make sure you have a set timer so it turns off automatically. If you're going to lay out in the sun, set an alarm on your phone in case you fall asleep, or make sure that a friend is going to come and get you. Again, I'm not advocating for you to do any type of tanning, but I realize that some of you are going to do it. So there's steps you can take to actually be a little bit safer. Now that video showed a really severe sunburn, but it was immediately after, so we don't know how bad she went on to blister. This next one does show some pretty significant blistering. Just to warn you, let's check it out. Oh, it looks like he's got eggs on his shoulders. I mean, it literally looks like he's got eggs cracked. Those are huge blisters, and you can see all the way around his collar. Oh. Okay, so that's obviously a really bad sunburn. It looks like somebody cracked an egg and dropped it right on his shoulder, and he's got the yolk sitting there. That's a blister. That's filled with fluid, Because the burn is so intense, the epidermis is actually separating away from the dermis, that deeper layer of skin, and it's filling up with fluid. So he can pop those with a sterile needle and let them drain, but don't unroof blisters like that. Your skin is not ready to be exposed underneath, and it's going to hurt more. But you can get that fluid out because sometimes the pressure of the blister does make it more painful. You can also see that he's got a sharp line of demarcation around his collar. So I don't know what he was doing from the neck up. I don't know how he didn't get burned up there and it was just down here. Maybe he did put sunscreen on his face, but he definitely neglected the body. And I've seen individuals like this in my clinic years later. And what they'll report to me is they've got lentigines or sun freckles all over the tops of their shoulders. And they'll tell me, I remember the sunburn that caused those to come out. Sometimes in a sunburn, you can get such a severe burn that it activates those melanocytes or those pigment producing cells in the skin. And all of a sudden, after you heal up, you've got tons of new freckles, and they're going to be there permanently. So again, that could happen to this individual after a burn of that severity. Now, that last video did over 30 million views on TikTok. This next video did the least amount of views, but I think it may be the most severe sunburn that we're going to see today.
When you forget your wife, and should probably wear sunscreen.
Yeah, he definitely should be wearing sunscreen. He's all cocky now. Oh, that's bad. Look how pink that is. It's getting worse. Oh my gosh. All right, so what you see there is the progression of the sunburn over a period of days. Initially, bright pink, kind of like we saw of that girl who was laying on her stomach, and you saw her back all bright pink, bright red. Then the next picture you saw it get a little bit more deep purple, and the last picture that you saw, it was like deep, deep purple. This is also on the legs, which means it's the area on the body which is going to be the slowest to heal. The intense inflammation that he experienced in that could mean that that discoloration in his legs, that deep purple, could be around for months, years, or even permanently. Some of you may have noticed that when you get an injury on the skin, you get something called post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. It's not a true scar, but that inflammation in the skin that's part of the healing process causes a pink color to come in the skin. And it can take months to go away in some individuals, especially of darker skin types. But on the legs, it's even slower to fade away. And again, I've seen people in the clinic with that kind of discoloration in their legs from injuries that has lasted years and will probably be with them for the rest of their life. I suspect that this guy is going to have some level of discoloration in his legs for the rest of his life. That's such an intense burn. Now, if you get something like that on your legs, the best thing you can do is keep them protected from sun. So using sunscreen or sun protective clothing, because when you have post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation and you expose it to the sun, then there's something in the skin called a melanophage or a macrophage. They're more likely to get darker in that case and be around for even longer. So sun is very bad for scars. There are lightening agents you could get from your dermatologist, and they can help a little bit. Laser treatments may be helpful when you're dealing with post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. And if it's on the legs, I strongly recommend to my patients that they wear compression socks to help promote good blood flow up and out of the legs. So again, this is the most severe sunburn in my estimation from what we saw, because the others are all going to recover pretty well. This one is going to leave some type of discoloration that'll last months, years, and possibly for the rest of his life. I want you to comment down below and tell me about the worst sunburn that you've gotten, and hopefully you're not going to do something like that again. Summer is my favorite time of the year. I love summer nights, hanging out with friends, firing up the barbecue, but you do have to protect yourself. You don't want a memory from the summer that's bad to be with you for the rest of your life, like a horrible sunburn. And again, I've had a couple of them. Everybody has. But you just have to learn to protect yourself going forward. So tell me your stories down in the comments and share this video with someone who's had a really bad sunburn. Maybe they can pick up some tips. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks for following along, and I'll catch you on the next video.